Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Los Angeles-based jazz vibraphonist Lolly Allen. During late March 2020 in Los Angeles, as the quarantine started to really take hold, we talked about her latest 2020 CD called Coming Home, very apropos for times right now. Over the years, she has performed with the best like Terry Gibbs, Bob Mintzer, Rodney Whitaker, Maria Schneider, and the Jazz Composers Alliance. Originally from Westport, New York, Lolly studied on scholarship at the New England Conservatory, and she has a great jazz story. So please dig this interview.
Yeah, everyone's surviving here in LA. Everybody's staying home. The roads are clear, which is really bizarre.
Yeah, I think, anytime I hear that either New York or LA is a ghost town, it's very strange.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, honestly. It's really weird, but it's pretty cool.
Well, I guess the hope here, and this is what I'm thinking because I've been doing enough interviews between LA, New York, New Orleans, and places in between, and I can attest to Kansas City. Hopefully all of this emptiness, the stats start reflecting that soon. Now, dense areas like New York and some of these other areas are going to be a little bit of a different story, but hopefully in a resounding way, all of this starts working and all of this starts getting to a better point.
I hope also there will be some really positive outcomes, just like a revolution, the way we do business and the way we spend quality time at home, so many people are getting to spend more time with their families and work from home. And I gotta say, in LA, it's nice. Like I said, the traffic is just that makes quality of life go way down in LA. It's just terrible to have to sit in an hour and a half traffic every time you want to go somewhere, and everybody's angry all the time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's actually so refreshing to, have like a little less smog and a little more, I don't know, just relaxed. I hope it carries over in some positive way.
You can only hope, that's definitely the hope. So, but, under special circumstances and just in general, thanks for taking a minute out to talk about your music and what's going on in the world.
Hey, my pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about jazz.
Right on.
Always.
So, the vibes is one of our favorite instruments around here, and I've really enjoyed coming home. So talk to me a little bit about what your vision with this project was.
Well, my vision with this project, okay. I did a small project when I was living in Boston, which was years before I moved to California. And it was more of a trio album. I called it Alan Has Funk because the core trio was John Funkhauser, John Hazilla, and of course my last name is Allen. So it wasn't a funk album. It was just kind of a clever play on our last names, but it was good. But the drummer I was working with out here in LA, Paul Krabik, who is a veteran performer, and he played with Ray Charles for a while on the road with him. He said, "Hey, we should do an album." And for me, it had been kind of a while, and I wanted to do a larger project, quintet. Once we got into recording the project, I realized, hey, I think we can expand this a little bit and include some special guest musicians on it. And let's do a few 9-piece arrangements, and let's bring some of my favorite LA guys in to fill out on a couple songs, the rest of the ensemble. So there was a couple pieces that feature trumpet player Carl Saunders on a song that he wrote called Wallys Folly, which is kind of fun for me. and we actually recorded more material than we ended up using. I wasn't sure what was to be honest, I wasn't sure what was going to gel together really well. And some of the things we recorded, I just didn't feel, when I listened back to them, well, this kind of doesn't quite, it sticks out a little bit in a way. It doesn't quite fit the flavor. But some of them just absolutely, I had actually 3 takes of Hippest Cat in Hollywood with different solos on all 3 takes. And, all of them for me, I wanted to put all 3 of them on the album. Like some of the old, some of the records with multiple takes, like the Thelonious Monk records. I could listen to take after take of the same song, but maybe not everybody else wants to do that. So anyway, boiled it down to some of the songs that I thought really sounded just right together. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's got a nice mix of, some ballads, some Latin influenced, and some bebop.
So, talk to me. You're originally from New York.
Yes, originally from upstate New York, very small town, Westport.
So, talk to me a little bit about your childhood. How you got into music, and what were some early influences for you?
Let's see. My early influences, at a very young age, we had a piano, so at a very young age, I wanted to play, the piano. When I was 3, I had a toy xylophone, one of those Fisher-Price multicolored xylophone actually on a string. And I remember that, and it was, it was one of my favorite toys. But I really loved making music. I loved producing sound. When I heard some of the arrangements that we played in our junior high and high school jazz band at school, I was really drawn into the Duke Ellington music and anything that was really what I felt like was true jazz. In high school, sometimes you play a lot of other music as well. Stage band, they'll find an arrangement of Louie Louie and you play that. But that for me wasn't it. There's something really deeply missing in that. But when we played Duke Ellington, to me there was something just so right about it. The arrangements for me were just like sonically superior to everything else we played. They sounded really nice. So I think that really got the bug. I got the bug playing that music.
Right on. So, what do you like best about being a professional musician?
Okay, the best thing I like about being a professional musician. Oh, that's an interesting question. I think I would have to say working together with people that I get excited about, that I'm inspired by. And, early on, I've tried to surround myself with just the absolute, top-notch musicians. Surround myself with people who are better than I was early on. And I think that inspired me and helped me grow and rise to the occasion. It made me a better musician. And so I think now my favorite thing to do is really just collaborate with people that I am inspired by. And that could be, on the recording. For example, I got to work with Josh Nelson, who's a fantastic composer and arranger and musician and improviser. And he's done, a fair amount of recordings, really nice recordings. And it's just really inspiring to, play a song that I wrote and arranged and have the guys shine so brightly on it. Right now I'm talking about the title track, Coming Home, wow, I was so excited in the studio when we did, we really landed on a version of that we all knew, wow, this is really sounding great. I mean, it was really exciting. You know, during the actual recording, I just remember gritting ear to ear. You know, sometimes I bounce up and down and I get excited. You know, you can't maybe hear that. You can't hear me bouncing up and down on the recording, or maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe you can hear that in some way.
Let me ask you this: why do you love jazz?
Why do I love jazz? That question's funny. I mean, why does anyone love anything? I think it's just there's a few reasons though. My parents, they loved music. My mom took me out to go to jazz clubs, and that was something she loved. She loved music. She loved jazz. She loved live performances, and obviously that got inside me. I think, you know, early on, like I mentioned, performing in a band in school and hearing Duke Ellington and some of the other composers that we performed, you know, playing that music live. I think something lives inside me. I think something inside me resonates with that music in a way that I can't fully explain. But throughout the years, people that I've known, that I've cherished and respected, have influenced me in a way that maybe I've created associations, you know. Maybe I've created associations with this music and with the feeling of love. But there's also something else that lives inside me. Just the sound of it is right. The feeling of it, the groove, you know. When swing really swings in a way that feels right to me, I know it. You know, it's something you know sort of intuitively, instinctively, that you feel inside you.
Well, I just wanted to know what you wanted the audience to get after, you know, once live music starts back up, what realizations you want them to have.
Oh, got it. So specifically with jazz, it is a kind of music that, you know, in ensemble, we really need each other. It's not something that you can just sort of, you know, create a drum track and then layer another track and just sort of, it's something that happens just through the collaboration of musicians that are improvising together, making jazz music. And it really has to be done live. It obviously, yes, we record it, and there's great recordings, but even with that, you're usually making music in that moment, something you didn't know going in, you know, you didn't know what you were going to play going into it. When somebody improvises, they're responding to what's going on in that moment around them. You know, whoever's accompanying, if there's you know, a melodic line happening, if I'm playing a melodic line on the vibes and there's a piano player accompanying, we're interacting in the moment in real time in a way that you can't really do any other way except by being together. And the same as with, you know, you add drums into that, you add bass into that. Everybody's listening to each other and responding to each other in the moment. And sure, there's a framework, there's chord progressions, you know the framework of the song, but you don't know exactly what's going to come out of it. You don't know exactly what you're going to play, usually, until you get there and respond to what's happening in that moment. So I think that's very exciting, and I think we miss that, you know, being stuck at home without the ability to come together.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, hey, thank you for taking some time out to talk about the new album and to talk about your life and music. I appreciate your time today.
Joe, it is entirely my pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Los Angeles, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Lolly for her time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends, and please support the arts.
Neon Jazz.